we'll welcome, guys. What a day it's been as we've been planning forums and all sorts of different things. So we've launched another Get Off Your Chest, and I'm proud that Johnny from Chickens on the Loose is joining me as co-host tonight. And I thought we'd talk about anything you want to, really. What's going on at the club, the transfer window, our squad at the moment, the performance from the other night, anything that you want to talk about and get off your chest, basically. All views are welcome. We're not kind of going to, start basically kind of cancelling people because they've got a different view to everybody else. But let's just try and have a bit of fun as we go along. But we're looking for speakers, and you might have a comment about the ownership at the moment. You might want to talk about Ryan Sparks. You might want to talk about Stephen Gent. There's so much that we could talk about with Bradford City, which is our life as a Bradford City fan. But I'm going to shut up.
Evening, Robert.
Anybody got anything on the mind at the moment? Let's maybe start off with the transfer window at the moment and where we're short as a club right now, in your opinion. Has anybody got any thoughts on that?
I'm thinking we need a backup goalkeeper now. I know Harry Lewis has disappeared to the rivals of Carlisle. So I think we need a goalkeeper, and possibly, if Young stays or goes, another striker. Someone who's quick and can score goals for us.
Yeah, there's always been that worry with Andy Cook, hasn't there, Johnny? And if he gets injured or if he goes through a bit of a poor patch of form, what do we do? The obvious answer is that you bring Jake Young in and do on. I'm not convinced right now with Tyler Smith. I don't know what your views are on that, guys.
Young's back in training now, isn't he? It's been plastered all over the club socials, so hopefully, touch wood, he will be back in action against Swindon and possibly will score, hopefully.
Do you think he'll celebrate if he scores?
Nah. If he scores, I don't think so. But I've seen a lot of memes on Facebook on Twitter where it's got Young scoring, saying, if Young scores an own goal and he slides in front of their fans or something and celebrating. It's been pretty funny actually on Twitter this today.
Yeah, I was submit. Okay, come on. We're looking for a speaker. Come and get involved and let's have a chat. You might want to talk about the forum that's coming up on Monday if you want to. I'll answer any questions on that I can, or anything that you want to do. Is that right, Johnny? Innit? We'll talk about anything right now.
Yeah, talk about anything. We've got an hour and a bit or so to fill.
So we just need that brave person to come on and start us off rolling, because you don't really want to be listening to my dulcet tones all night.
Because I'm about the fans forum, what's been organised by yourself and the city event. I'll be going to that on Monday, so hopefully we'll see quite a few are there, and just, you never know, change happens.
I think that the forum, well, as you know, as a group, we've been trying to get members so that we can act as an official, in an official capacity to represent our supporters across the country. It's difficult because there's a level of scepticism when a group like ours comes along, because you're starting from nothing. But I think what's happening now is that the club, I think anywhere that we look at it, from where Rupp took over to where we are right now, there's many different things that have happened in that time period. And, some people for Rupp in, some people for Rupp out. And this tonight's going to be an impartial one. But the fact of the matter is that we've regressed as a club if you look at things on paper. That's a fact. We've gone from almost in the Championship, Johnny, to where we are now. We're languishing in 16th place in Division 2. League 2. And the fact of the matter is that communication from the club has died. I mean, we're not even getting inside match days at the moment or inside training. And I think what happened with the Vent guys is that we had the match the other night against Salford. Stands were noticeably kind of sparse. Let's be honest. And then we saw a reluctance to release the attendance on that night. And then you start to look up, in the interview, Ryan Sparks is saying that that Stefan Rupp hadn't been to the ground since, I think, at the beginning of the season, and then we know that he was there against Harrogate. So, we've now seen this increase across the fan base of people wanting to ask questions
and Robert,
of the club, and we've tried to get answers or try to push to get a platform where we can get the answers that are needed. And the fact is now is that the club refusing to do a fans forum. Some people might say, well, what are we going to learn from that we don't know already? Well, that's the gamble, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is if you get 200, 300 Bradford fans in a room with Ryan Sparks where he's got nowhere to go, I'm not saying it turns into like pitchforks and torches, but the fact is that he has to, he can feel the tone of the actual supporter base. They can advise him exactly of what we think's wrong, because I think that Nige said today, who's joined us, the fact of the matter is we're the customers. We're the biggest percentage of revenue that comes into that club. And, my own view right now is I think that we're solely lacking a plan of some type to move forward with.
It's like looking at what's been said in the TNA news conference, the TNA interview, what Ryan Sparks has done. I see there's been a couple of parties being interested. Just going to quickly find it.
Just while you're doing that, Johnny, look, guys, really would love to hear what your views are on this. And, we all have different views. That's fine. It's not a free-for-all down one side of, club bashing or Sparks bashing or whatever. But I think that there are questions to be asked of the club right now. And, do you guys think there could be a detrimental effect on season tickets? I'm hopeful that some people will be brave enough just to, come on and give us their views, because that's the reality of why we do these things, is you get off your chest and give us views. Anyway, Johnny.
Yeah, so I found it here. So this little snippet here, has there been any serious interest in buying the club? There's been interested parties. I can't say a great deal because I'm bound to a non-disclosed agreement. So does that mean something's happening then if someone's bound to a non-disclosure agreement?
The standard business practice, and I know this from my own kind of business dealings, is that when you enter into kind of some sort of chats about purchasing the club or looking at accounts and things like that, both parties tend to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which then binds them over. Regardless of what happens, they're then bound for a period of time where they can't speak about those things. So yeah, that's pretty normal. But even if it doesn't lead to anything, they're still bound by that NDA.
Yeah, because at the end of it, he has said, where are I have opinion on the asking price. Yeah, so on the end of it, it says basically he can't speak about it, but things have not moved on. So I wonder if part of me is thinking, I wonder if something is happening, or they're trying to chat about something and someone's trying to buy the club.
Because the figure that was being bandied around, and I'm hoping that maybe somebody who's joining us tonight kind of knows where this came from, but the figure they're banding is about £10 million. Is allegedly what Rupp's looking for, but I'm not sure where that came from. Anyway, Jake might know. Johnny, Jake's joined us. Thanks, Jake. What do you want to get off your chest, mate?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about what you were just referring to, so I can't help that. But I don't know. I mean, I wrote a piece in the Whitford Post, which was published this morning, and it's taken me a while to kind of think about where I'm actually at with the club at the moment. And I think I'm basically at the same place as lots of us, right? It's kind of confusion, it's disenchantment, it's frustration, and it's not what the kind of central point I was trying to make in the article, which I wrote, is I feel like we've become a club that's just served to exist. I mean, last season was probably one of the very few highlights of the last 6 or 7 years, right? You know, it felt like everything was moving correctly off the pitch and on it. And the summer of recruitment, which, you know, has been well documented, and the struggles of the season just seem a million miles away from last year. And I just can't, well, I've got obviously ideas as to what might have happened, but I can't quite work out how you can go from being so close and playing so well and just needing to, you know, refine your squad so very finely. Like, I think 2 or 3 players, if we'd have added them over summer, would have probably turned us into top 3 title contenders. Even and I'm not saying that from like a kind of delirious or crazy place. I mean, you know, we lost Critchlow and we lost Banks, who were probably 2 of the most talented loan players we've had in the last 2 years, and I think everyone would agree on that. Who were big gaps to fill, right? But you know, the spine of the squad that we started the season with, or rather that we went into the summer with, just needed to be, you know, slightly added to. And I get that Patterson was obviously meant to be that goal scoring number 10 who came in, and that's not like for whatever reason with his injuries, which has been unfortunate. But it was a very, very weird summer of recruitment. And I just, yeah, that coupled with, and for me, the bigger frustration with the club is where are we actually wanting to go? So I'm grateful that fans at the minute are actually trying to, you know, start an honest conversation. I know that there'll always be people who say, you know, time for words is over, you know, it's that need for action. I think for me, it's trying to define what we actually want from this football club and, you know, clearly move like a pathway forwards. So in the piece that I wrote, I talked about clubs like Luton, like Brentford, like Bournemouth, you know, these clubs who 10, 11 years ago were playing week in, week out in League Two, they've progressed so much further than we have, and we really haven't done anything. And I think that comes down to a lack of broader overall plan and structure for the club. I mean, don't get me wrong, when the club was sold, so to speak, in 2015-16, it was in a great place. It really was. But like so much of that has been undone, and it's a real shame. And I think to watch clubs come up from the National League and constantly surpass us, you know, to see other clubs at our level buy talent from the National League or from lower end of League Two, develop it, move them on, but get them up in the process, and we just continue to exist, and it's a real shame. And I think lots of I'll stop talking in a second because I know I've kind of gone on for a bit, but I think for me where I've landed is it's just we need to genuinely define what we want from this football club, and that needs to be ownership, it needs to be, you know, at board level, and I think there needs to be more participation in terms of letting people come into the club and try and help. Because for me, this isn't about, you know, saying to those currently operating the club, you know, we think we can do it better than you. I think actually what would be really good is if there was, you know, a genuine appreciation from everyone to kind of work together. And that's not me criticising anyone when I say that. What I more mean is if a club is welcoming fans and able to let fans try and, you know, steer what's going on in a really like positive way, you know, we all have different experience from our day jobs and our lives. And I'm pretty sure that we all want the same thing for this football club, which is to be successful and to rise up the leagues. And the way that we do that is by working together, you know, not working in silos, and particularly not, you know, in this period of, you know, really poor communication from the club and no one really knows what's going on. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell from me. But yeah, not great at the minute, is it?
It was a really Jake. I did enjoy reading it. We've commented on the with the post tweet or whatever we're calling them these days. I think that, you know, one criticism I've had of Bradford for some time now is I always feel that there's been a lack of ambition and a lack of bolshiness, you know, in terms of the transfer market, you know, in terms of the facilities. I want them to basically kind of, if we're going to get called, you know, what we get called the biggest club in League Two and the biggest fan base, then act like it and, you know, have that arrogance. But I agree. I don't see a DNA in the club right now compared to, you know, a little while ago when, you know, Bradford were renowned. We played wingers. We basically put, you know, we attacked. Our signings were based around that. But I can't, you know, apart from the first part of Stephen Gent's arrival, first transfer window was solid. And I can't then see what we're trying to do. And then, Ryan Sparks has gone missing. I don't think that I think that the TNA thing's backfired on him right now, if I'm being honest, because I don't think that it's really given the answers to the questions that people have got right now.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, just to kind of build on that, I think it comes down to a question of what do we actually want to do and how do we want to actually achieve our goal? Because our goal is to get back up to championship level, I think. If you ask anyone of what we want is, to be in the league that we've not been in for, a very, very long time. And that's not about us seeing ourselves as a championship club. We're a club with a big stadium, but a fairly meagre kind of off-pitch, setup. And I think that what we need to actually decide is how we're going to do this. For me, and don't get me wrong, with recruitment it's a mixed bag, right? So last summer we were very lucky and beat. We clearly identified the right players. We sold Harry Lewis on. Obviously there's rumours about Jake Young, but clearly he's somebody who came in, has been very good and could potentially be an asset for us. The loan players we identified were great, and there's a few misses, but generally speaking it was good. Now for me, surely as a club in League Two level, you look at what's been successful, and the clubs who've been successful are the ones who've identified talent. They've identified players who would either fit the system so that they can play a certain brand of football, or if they've not gone for that approach, they've gone for talented players, usually in the league below, to be honest, who can come in, score lots of goals, and eventually be sold on for profit. And there's countless examples over the last few years. Andre Gray, when he went to Luton, was amazing. He's got 30 goals at this level. He's the first one that springs to my mind, but there's been tons of others. Then you also get the League Two clubs who develop their own talent and sell it on. Players like Ollie Watkins, who obviously went on to Brentford and now is England's second choice striker. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but for me, we've got a massive stadium which we should want players to come and play at Valley Parade. We should not be going out every single week at home and panicking in front of a really big fan base. And last season, to be fair, we were better away from home, but we were still kind of solid enough at home. This year, we've been really, really poor at home, and that's not me digging the players out, but surely to me as a club, it speaks to look at the National League, and I know I keep repeating the National League, but I think this is a really strong point to make. Clubs who've come up last season, Wrexham and Notts County, are far better than we are this season. We went to Meadow Lane and we got absolutely trounced in our first half, and that is because they were a very good side who knew exactly what they were doing and played a really strong brand of football. I'll pause in a second because I know you've got your hand up, but what I was going to say about this was, they've clearly lots of talent at that level. Now, there's no reason why we couldn't look at teams in the league below who are doing well towards the right end of the table, try and poach their top talent, bring it into our club, and then play in front of massive crowds. I can't see any player in the National League who's going to not want to do that. And that means that you bring through young and hungry players who are keen to play for the club. And if they're good, we can sell them on for a profit. And if they don't end up being, fantastic, I'm pretty sure that they'll play for another club in the league, or if not, go back down to the level below. So that's just one example, but I could talk for ages and I'll stop for now.
So before we go to Lee, we've just had a couple of Facebook and YouTube comments. So this is from Robbie on Facebook. For me, the owner, that is the problem. One, we don't own the stadium or training facility. The other week, the first team had to stop training to make way for school kids who wanted to play on the field at lunchtime. Ryan Sparks could only do what he's got in front of him. He's only just bought that is given to him. Just remember, before the season started, we had to pay 500k rent on our stadium, etc. That believes the signing act for the outcome is that we need new owners who's waiting to put money in as long as they run. And then on YouTube, I believe the club was sold too quickly. Absolutely inexperienced owners. These owners, new owners, don't seem to know what progression of the club is.
So yeah, it's but you look back over the history of Bradford City over recent times, and you start to see, chinks of lack of ambition, chinks of no plan, chinks of all sorts of things. And I think we're now at a stage where, quite rightly, fans are starting to question. But I agree pretty much with everything that Jake said there. Lee, thanks for joining us, mate. Have you got any comment on that? Do you want to talk about something different about Bradford City? But what's your views, pal?
At the moment, I'm playing catch-up with you all because I'm a little bit late getting on, so...
It's all right, mate.
But one thing I would say is I've followed Bradford a long, long time, and it is probably the fastest roller coaster club you've ever been watching. I mean, I go back to 1959, and it's up and down and up and down. It wouldn't be Bradford City if it were any different. That's why we love them. What I don't get is some fans are saying, stay away. That's going to kill the club. They don't want to do that. They want. Do we follow Bradford City, or do we follow Rupp, or do we follow... Rupp won't be there forever. Sparks won't be there forever. People like them come and go. So...
I think it's a difficult one, Lee.
It is. I've seen it all.
The reality right now is that we're a club who went through 2 administrations, and many of us will remember that period of time. It wasn't pleasant.
Wasn't pleasant. Madness.
Yeah, and it wasn't pleasant. I think that this has been building for some time. It gets papered over. The cracks get papered over when we start to perform a little bit better on pitch, but I think even if we start to go on a run of wins right now, I think there would still be kind of concern, shall we call it? I wouldn't say derision, but concern about the direction of the club. The fact of the matter is that Rupp owns this club. Rupp is a disinterested owner, and he's not the first. There is others there. The argument at the moment is that there is, we are a club with no assets. The biggest asset that the club has at the moment is its fan base, which is worth a lot of money to a prospective buyer, simply in terms of merchandise and general revenues, etc., and what they can do with that. So that will be an attractive proposition to a prospective buyer. The other side of things as well is its catchment area as a city, in terms of Bradford, as everybody knows on this call, is a large city and it has a good catchment area. So that would be attractive as well. And then the potential of it, if you can get a kind of a side and invest into a side that actually can perform, then we've seen it. All of us have seen it when we've actually performed, and we've got momentum. I don't think there's any kind of louder place to go than Valley Parade. And also, we've seen progress. We saw it all the way up to the Premier League. It can be done. But at the moment, I think Jake touched on it. It's kind of what's the plan, Lee, if you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. We don't have one at the minute. There is no plan at Bradford City until someone comes in and takes over from Rupp and Sparks. I'm not beating Sparks up. I was involved in rugby league at quite a high level. He's all about Sparks. He's Mr. Sparks, unfortunately. And his dad will tell you the same thing. My dad. Where do we go if we lose the fans? There's only one place we can go, and that's down, and that's where we are now. We need the board. Who is this board?
There isn't one, Lee. It's
they're silent. There's people that invest, but they're allegedly only allowed to invest if they don't say anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't invest in something like that. So why they have, I don't know.
No, it's a tricky one, but I think the fact of the matter is whatever happens, Lee, I think it's getting to a stage now, and we started to see signs of it in the earlier stages of this season with potential for protest. I know that tennis ball thing didn't really go anywhere, and that's fine.
It was stupid.
No, and that's fine. But I think it's getting to a stage for a lot of people where and you only have to read kind of some of the socials and see some of the people speaking, where they're going,'I've got better things to do on a Saturday. I can go, spend time with I can go spend time with my grandchildren, and bear in mind as well, we've got a part of our fan base that travels a great distance on a Saturday or a Tuesday. to get there. I mean, I think of Labib at Nottingham Bankland, who comes all the way home and away. You've got people travelling from Scotland, and people from Kent, from London, as well as our own Bradford fans. But our own Bradford fans are going, you know what, I'd rather go do something else and watch this side. And what I'm worried about right now, and it might be, and we have to consider this, it might be the only kind of way, is that we have to start hitting Rupp in his pocket. Now, the flip side of that, though, Lee, is that then it starts to do damage to the club. But after a bit, you go, well, what option do we have?
Well, like I'm saying, the only thing we have got is the club, irrespective of who owns it, who's running it. And the only thing we can do is let them know how we feel, whether they want to hear it or not. If they want to brush it under the carpet, that's at their peril. And then we need to get together as fans. I remember Stafford Higginbottom and Tordoff calling a public meeting at St George's Hall to save the club from going out of existence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The fans have to speak. They have to have a voice. Adam was saying the other night on that forum there, the fans forum doesn't exist anymore. Don't have a voice.
No.
But we need to let them know we're here. We ain't going anywhere. We're going to support Bradford irrespective of what they think or say.
Yeah. Lee, stick around. Hang on, because might want to speak a little bit more. Johnny.
Sure. Yeah, so before we go to Jamie, I know you're waiting a little bit. We've just got some more Facebook comments coming. So this is from Martin. All the talk about selling on, bringing players in, sell for profit. Bring on players, sell for profit. How will we proceed if everything we have decent players we sell? We are never going to move up if I think he's put basically we dream of. Yeah, so on about selling players like Jake Young, for example, there, if he goes, will the money get back into Bradford City or anything like that, or will it just go into his back pocket? Jamie, have you got anything you want to say, bud?
Yeah, I think for me personally, the performances, yes, they've not been the best performances, let's be honest. But what's more important, fans can, at times, if there's a project, you can get behind it, knowing that you're not going to do well for a couple of seasons if there's a project. But the problem is, there's no project. What does Bradford City mean these days? Sparks a couple of years ago, when Connor Sellers and Trima were given the job permanently, he said this is a building block, and no matter what happens to managers, this is the direction that the club is going in. And then within 2 months, they're sacked, a new manager comes in with a new direction.
After giving him an extension, if you remember.
An extension, yeah. But we need something to get behind. We need a direction. We need to know what the club is doing. But I think at the same time, the club also needs to work with the fans. This fans forum that's happening on Monday is fantastic, but why are the club shying away from it? Why are the club not sending somebody along to actually listen to fans' opinions?
I don't believe we've got a leader at this moment at the club. There's nobody at the top. Rupp don't want to know. He keeps making his money from his helicopter seats. Sparks hasn't a clue because he talks to him regularly, he says in Telegraph. Does he? Or does he just get told what to do and say? We don't know.
Maybe Ryan Sparks needs to bring people in to support him that maybe are not yes people. I think at the moment Ryan Sparks...
Absolutely.
The problem you've got there, Jamie, is that there's a question mark over Sparks, and I don't want to do a bashing on him. It's not the point of this.
No.
But the facts of the matter is that there's elements of ego there and you can see it. Even like kind of like most fans have commented on it. There is ego
That's
there.
what puts fans' backs up in it every time.
Yeah.
Sparks his arrogance.
And so most people, I've seen various things, great ideas. Why have we not brought an operations director in who can look after the football side of things? Why have we, why is he? Because I don't think he'll allow it.
I don't. I was going to say that. Would he be allowed to bring people in that might undermine Rupp's grasp on power? Who knows?
Well, again, Rupp's always going to have the ultimate power in it because he owns the bloody club. But the fact of the matter is that, I think that Ryan Sparks heel clicks his way into an office in the morning because he's got nobody watching over him. Yeah. He can make whatever decisions that he wants to make. And we have to then question some of those decisions. Lee, you mentioned it, offering managers a new contracts and then firing them, offering them extensions and getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How is that stability for our club? But then how do you, and then the knock-on effect is, how do you then get stability on the pitch and consistency?
Well, does that feed into players as well? Because I obviously see that exactly the same as we do.
Well, Moraes basically said pretty much that on commentary last night.
He did indeed.
They're not stupid. You can't tell me that they're all watching social media, regardless of whether we can see them or not. They know what's going on from fans. They're well aware of it. So you can't tell me that they're not aware that there's kind of, a little bit of disillusionment at the moment from fans. And judging by commentary last night, the reality is that Valley Parade was flat last night, completely.
Well, did we ever find out actually how many fans were there? I read somewhere it were quoted at like 16,000. My arse, it was 16,000. Not a chance.
I think they said 16,537 or something like that, with 157 from Salford.
I think there were a few.
That has
I don't believe 16,000.
And apparently, according to the club, there is a legal reason why they have to do all ticket sales. That's what the club has said in the past. Whether it's true or not, the club has said that they have to announce all ticket sales, and that includes season ticket holders. So it's never been accurate, the figures.
No. I think all I could glean from that last night is that ticket sales would account for the figures, but a lot of people didn't go.
Do we reckon there was about 7,500 there last night, give or take?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Okay.
It certainly wasn't 16,000, maybe 8. Tops.
Yeah. Jamie, Lee, stick around, guys. Johnny, you had your hand up, pal, and I don't want to take over here, so you crack on, mate.
Yeah, so on about... we've had Stuart, who's had another come in with Facebook again. Roop isn't interested. He's inherited a team on the back with his old...
Right.
People are saying there's about 6,000 fans there. Somebody posted the actual attendance online the other day. On about the crowd yesterday and stuff, I went to the game and the atmosphere was horrible. I did go on Radio Leeds after because I was frustrated, and I said, I think if I rated the atmosphere at the ground yesterday out of 10, I gave it a 2. I know the cop.
Generous.
Yeah, I know the northwest corner tried to get going, but in my opinion yesterday the game were boring. I know there's been a poll on Twitter. I think Dan put something up on Twitter earlier on, and it was on the lines of, did you go to the game due to the weather? Yes, or couldn't you be bothered going? So with just the atmosphere, the club, and like people need to say the atmosphere and everything, the club needs to change a new corner. Because personally, like I said yesterday on Radio Leeds, it's hit the Titanic. Titanic has hit the iceberg, and this club is on life support. And going back to what you said, Lee, if fans don't go, it could absolutely ruin the club.
Could.
It could ruin the club.
Can I just make a quick point? I'm just going to jump in. Thank you for accepting me on. About, you going on about the attendance and stuff like that. I don't think that is the core problem at the moment. I think the fact that I think fans are getting bored. I think we're getting bored of lead on. I think, we've had that since Rupp and Co took over the club in 2017. We've had that year-on-year aggression. Last year, exception, I get. But I think it's just all too Bradford City. I think, people don't want to sit in cold. They don't want to sit in wet and rain. Yeah, that could have been one of the highlights why people didn't go, but I don't think 10,000 people drop off your attendance for that. I think it's...
Do you think that's the DNA of our club then?
I just think... I've only supported since 2010, but from what I've read from old days, John Docherty and Peter Taylor, it just seems, it just seems like it's a vicious cycle of there's never been any progression. I think it's a lot like Bradford in general. You look at the state of the city centre, you look at state of Bulls, you look at state of Park Avenue, it just follows that downward spiral that we kind of regress into. And I don't think until change is done in the city in general, I just don't see any progression within the club. I really just can't see that. I can't see that moving forward. I have to go past Ellen Road quite a few times. You look around their ground, there's murals, they engage with the, but they engage with the community. There's murals around the ground. They paint the phone boxes, little stuff like that. We never seem to have that at City. It's just, a big part of what a football club is being part of the community that you're in, and they don't engage with it. They don't engage with the fan base. They don't engage with the community. We just seem to be in the ground, and that's it. There's no influence with the area. There's no sponsors within the area. It's just everything within the club just seems lazy. It just seems like there's no ideas. It's just
they don't get a lot well from council either. Neither did Bulls.
Yeah. Well, Bulls did in 2000 and odd, didn't they? They got bailed out.
Gave them ground.
Yeah, but my point is
bailed out by RFL, not by council.
But you could do something with the council. We don't engage. We don't engage as a fan base because we've got one fans forum a year, which is a necessity more than an actual reason to do it.
Yeah.
We need that. I'm not saying every week, but every quarter of the season, 4 fans forums to ask for, which are, like this, not cherry-picked with people that ask easy questions.
I don't think that's unreasonable, Dan, to be honest with you. No. Once a quarter.
Quarterly would be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Dan, thanks for that, mate. I think it's a fair point. Just to a Twitter comment, Chris Potter. Hi, Chris. Thanks for writing, mate. Even the football isn't entertaining. We pay to be entertained, not bored. And I think that's kind of that's come across. So when you add that product onto kind of what's going on around the club at the moment, it's not surprising that kind of some fans, are kind of disillusioned. And I said the other night on a space that I was on, the fact is that some people got to that quick, where they could see that things weren't going to progress. Some it's taken a little bit more time. Some are still kind of looking at the club and going, "We'll be all right." But I think that for me right now, there's enough kind of levels of concern, shall we say, across our supporter base to be having these forums and asking these questions.
I've just found the attendance as well, thanks to Richard, who's in the space now. He posted it on the Bradford City Up the Chickens group. The attendance was 16,549, with 187 travelling Salford supporters.
Right. Okay. There was definitely not 6, and we all know what 16,500 looks like in that ground.
Mm-hmm. I think the point to add is that they've always done this. Every football team does that. So, by the fact that they publish them because season tickets have been bought, next year you're going to see the actual attendances because, even if it's a legal obligation or not, the club are going to sit there and go, yeah, we got 5,500. They are going to do that. No one's ever going to know what the official figure was.
No, they'll always put a
Which,
positive
you know,
spin.
that's a positive spin. They're never going to influence negativity. But we need to be looking further in the tendencies. You know, people are saying weather, which it might have been a perfect storm of weather, couldn't be asked, or just not going. But that if 3 seasons ago, I still don't think on a Tuesday night with weather that it would have been that low. I think there's a reason why it was that low.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Stick around, mate. Chris, thanks for joining us, buddy. Over to you, mate. What do you want to get off your chest?
Basically, it's thank you all. Yeah, 2 things that I can see wrong with our club at this moment in time, and it's been going on for quite a while. And if you've seen any responses I've put on Twitter, it's aimed at Ghent. His recruitment it's shoddy. It's poor. But I'd question something else as well. After the game,
it was stupid.
When you look at how we played,
it was one of
probably
the
apart from
worst games I've actually ever
Gilead,
been at City.
who just runs, whatever he does.
Rubbish.
Where is the stamina? They all look like they're lacking fitness majorly. And I don't know who it is to blame for training them, because they just look completely on the legs.
I don't think we've had good stamina since Nick Allenby days, Chris.
No.
Yeah, I totally agree with that there.
They look fed up as well.
Do you think it's to do with the training facilities? And like, I think we've been training on, tell me if I'm wrong, is it 4G at Bradford Park Avenue?
5G.
5G, I wonder if they get good reception over there. But do you think it's to do with the pitch they're training on? That's why they're getting so many injuries and stuff like that?
Chris, you could speak if you want to, buddy.
Yeah, I've got no idea, but it's something inherent. It's not just... Well, I don't think it can be just a level of how bad the pitch is or something like that. It's the actual keeping them fit, the training, what they're doing in the spare time. Are they at a gym? Are they doing whatever they need to do to get the fitness up to a high level so that they can perform on a Saturday, perform on a Tuesday? They look lackluster, big time.
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts? Sorry, there's we've got Diane and then Jamie. Have you got any thoughts on it, Diane, love?
No, I just think it's the pitch when they play at Woodhouse Grove is completely different to a 5G pitch and everything. So it could be that they aren't used to training on the 5G pitch, like other teams will be. I know they played behind closed doors on Saturday, didn't they, when there'd no match at Park Avenue?
Yeah, they did. Can I just put another caveat there, though? Do you just think that we've signed badly?
Yeah.
I don't think we have, but it's like some of the players you might need to get rid of. It's like everybody goes, get rid of Ash Taylor, but sometimes when I've seen him, I didn't go Tuesday because I'd done my ankle in, but I was going to go. But sometimes Ash Taylor does put some good shifts in, and then other times it's crap.
Yeah. Me personally, I don't think that we've had a good transfer window since Ghent's first, being honest. I look at some of the players we've signed, and I'm trying to think why we've signed them. When there's been other positions that we've been crying out for. The most notable one for me was when we were in last season and we got to January transfer window and we were crying out. We knew we needed to buy another striker or get another striker in with some quality, and we didn't. And I think there was another position as well, but yeah. Jamie.
Yeah, it's just a quick one just on the training pitch that people have been talking about. This isn't something new. This is the same training ground that we've been using for, I believe, at least 10 years at the school. It's not.
Can I say something? It's been longer than that.
Yeah.
Because I used to go, my dad used to work in Shipley, and I used to go that way when I was a teenager. And they were training on it then.
Yeah, so it's not something that's just started. So I think a lot of people in the past week have leached onto this comment that Graham Alexander made about being thrown off the pitch by the because school had a class, but that was the same in the Premiership years. We we were still at that school. We still had to give the pitch across to the school when needed. That was the same when Allenby
I'll
was our
just
fitness
I'll just
coach.
make a point. We actually didn't. We used to train on a field which was behind, which is now converted into the flood defences. So that's why we've had to move. We didn't have that problem. We used to have a pitch that was past the school, behind another one that the school didn't use, but we don't have that anymore. So that's why we have to now use the artificial and the other school pitch. That was from 2 years ago when they started doing that.
But I believe when weren't we at school when Parkinson was there? I believe we were at the school when Parkinson was there.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
sorry.
we've had to. So there was, if you go to Woodhouse Grove, you can walk down the side of the river. You used to walk through a set of gates, and we used to train behind that. That's not there anymore because of the flood defence work at Appley Bridge. So we've had to move on to the school pitch temporarily. So that's in the last 2 years maybe why we've had problems with. Well, we've always had a bit of an injury problem, but we've had to move on to that pitch. And obviously, winter, water, and it's next to a river, it floods, doesn't it? So that's in the last 2 years. I think they're going back onto it next year,
Yeah,
but
they've got
I could be wrong.
on the bulb on the board at the school. It does say pitch one Bradford City players only.
That was the one that I was talking about, but they can't use that at the moment. That's
Oh, they have
that.
been. They did when I went down.
Oh well, the last time I went there, but that's what I was making a point. Maybe that's why we're getting injuries at the moment because we're switching from artificial grass, travelling around. It's again disorganisation within the club, isn't it?
And nobody's mentioned yet the state of our home ground itself, or Blackpool Beach, as some like to call it.
I think it's always been like that, though, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
But I think I watched Reading game, I've watched Wigan game, Bolton game. A lot of pitches in North, around that where there's been bad weather. I think it's to be expected. We had really shit weather, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's not been.
I think so there's a lot of clubs like I was watching Man United game. There's patches of theirs on sidelines which are rough as hell, and they've got how much money to spend. So I think. In balance for a League Two team, we're not going to have the best pitch, are we? But it didn't bobble, did it, on Tuesday night, if you went? It didn't bobble or all like that.
It didn't stick either, but yeah.
It didn't stick. It's just not got grass on it.
It's absolutely rock hard with all that sand.
But we do have to, at the same time, give credit to the grounds team.
Oh,
who
yeah.
I think do an amazing job on very limited funds.
I agree totally. They can only work with what they've got.
Okay, guys. I've just got a comment from Scrapman. We've brought 3 players in and 3 players have gone out. So how have we trimmed down the squad? Which Chris touched on about the Ghent. We've not got long left in this transfer window. So do we think there's going to be a massive influx? Is there anybody of the opinion that we're going to see Young go at the last minute as somebody's mooted?
I can see what's going to happen there. My prediction that probably Young will probably go, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock last day of the transfer window. And then we'll go into the Samuel, him who used to play for Wolves, who we got, and he were rubbish. I think we're going to go into that area, where we'll end up panic buying a 35-year-old striker who can't hit a barn door.
Already got one of them, Matt Derbyshire.
I honestly say Matt Derbyshire.
Can I be honest? I don't think we're going to get rid of Young. I think if we were going to do it, we'd have done it already. I don't think that hype. Don't forget, he's only had one good season. He's only had one decent season at Swindon. He hadn't really done much before that. I think as fans, we're overhyping him to what he is. I think we're trying to force a sale, but I don't think that sale's there because he would have already gone if that was the case.
Well, they're rumoured to be looking for £500,000, aren't they, for him, Dan?
I wouldn't pay £500,000 for him.
No, not based on one half season.
If that was, if we had Charlie Wyke, I'm not saying we are signing him, but I'm saying if we still had him, and someone wanted 500 grand, I'd pay 500 grand for Wyke because he's a proven, goal scorer. Whereas Young's done it for half a season.
Yeah.
In a Swindon team which has absolutely dropped
player.
out his ass. He's a young player. I don't see this hype around selling him. I don't think we will sell him because I don't think there's anyone there to buy. Everyone's bought up, aren't they, in the league?
Has anybody heard the press conference from today? From the manager?
Yeah, well, GA said he's trained fully today, full training session, so...
That, and then you want about...
Jake Young has.
And then you want about bringing players in as well. Saying he's
Yeah,
having a look at teams. A player from either permanent or loan. But I think we're looking at somebody in either League 1, 2 or National League to bring in. Because he said something about, we can't afford Championship players. So I think we're looking at somebody from League 1, League 2 and probably National League to bring into the club.
I think it'll be a player out of contract. I don't think we'll sign anyone.
He also mentioned about Ryan Tulloch as well after the game the other night, and he was saying that his club don't even want him back. They want him to find another club.
He's crap. He's rubbish, that's why.
Just to cloud the waters further.
Yeah.
Can I just make a quick point?
Sure, go on, John.
I don't think we need any more strikers. I don't think we need to be spending all. If we don't get rid of Young, there's no reason why we should. Derbyshire's there as a impact sub, whatever. Young can start for me. We've got Smith up front. I don't think there's all wrong. Don't score a lot of goals. He were unlucky on Tuesday. I think we really need to look at right back cover and left back cover. Right back, if Halliday goes, we're absolutely up shit creek. Absolutely screwed if Halliday goes, because there's only Gilead which can play there. And then left back, we're stuck with Rido, which, he can make a good run, but that's about all Rido can really do. I'm not being harsh. He's not the most intelligent player with the ball at his feet. He tends to run at players and just stops. I think we need them two positions. We've got far enough in defence and we've got far enough in midfield. I think it's a left and right back that we should be working, and a goalkeeper as well.
So we need another Mezza and a backup keeper and somebody to cover Halliday. Yeah.
Guys, just going to read a couple of comments that have come in while we've been chatting. The cow's arse, like those guys work. They're talking about the pitches we were talking about earlier. They've said it's not 1999 anymore. The world and football world has moved on drastically. We're not a Premier League side, but are our training facilities adequate now and for the level we want to be at? And I think that's a fair point.
I think it's a very fair point.
I mean, it's a really good point. And then Bradford Brownie, thanks for commenting, buddy. Andy Cook's only had one good season, but look at what he got out of it. And I think that, if we're keeping Young, then I think we've got that covered because we'll have him, Tyler Smith, etc. But I agree with Dan. I think we need full-back cover, or wing-backs, whatever we want to call them, and another keeper. And I think we should be all right then.
One thing, if I may, about Cook. In a poor side that's not playing well, he's still got, 11, 12 goals?
He's 12 goals at the moment, Lee.
Yeah. With no service, with no, he's managed to get up to 12.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has. Okay.
Imagine if he had a player with him. Just a quick one on Cookie as well. Sorry to jump in again.
Go on.
For me, it just looks like the squad's disinterested. I just think they know that they're not going to get in playoffs. Cook, to be fair to him, that drop that Hughes did around Christmas for him, I think it did him an absolute world of good. And I think Alexander needs to do so. I think all the fan base relies on Cook. You're a bit like Wyke, a bit like Hansen. All the fan base expects Cook to score, and without that, we're absolutely screwed. I think he needs dropping for a couple of games to give his head back in game, and then might we might see some goals flying in if the service improves to him.
I agree with you there, Dan. 100% agree with you there, mate. Watching games with Andy Cook especially, I think teams have found out now how he plays, and they crowd him out of the game and they torture him, and he just... I think he needs dropping, and I 100% agree with Dan on that one.
Well, I'd said this on another space recently, that if you've been watching Andy Cook recently, closely, he's losing his temper a hell of a lot with the players around him, because he's not getting the ball into where he wants it. They're not reading his runs correctly and things like that. So he seems to be getting more and more frustrated with each match that passes by. So Dan, it might be good just to give him a breather and take him out of it, just so he can collect himself and do what he needs to do. But I feel sorry for him, because when you're not getting the service coming in to him, or you're playing hoofball up in the air, which you can't do much if you've got two large central defenders on him. It is going to frustrate you. We've got this. You've got wing backs that can pull in and put a cross across. We've put more balls into the box. We've got more chance of scoring. And I think sometimes we just, and don't even get me started on the free kicks when we're not beating the first man. It just irritates me.
Just make a point. You're saying he's arguing, getting flustered and with his teammates. Just shows you the team ethic at the moment. That if I noticed it the other night, Smallwood having little arguments, Cook having little arguments. It just shows you that the whole thing around the club, from fan base, board, ground, players, there's some sort of discontent. And I think, obviously, the players will know what's going on, with the fans and Sparks. But I think the team isn't good enough, and I think the team know that they're not good enough. And I think the more we go on, the more that breakdown in the team will happen. It's a vicious cycle of Alexander needs to make changes to that team. The team that played at Derby was arguably probably one of the better performances I've seen of this season. It wouldn't take a grand lot, but I just don't understand the point of dropping Point and Chapman. I'd have McDonald over Smallwood.
I just didn't get that other night.
It just doesn't merit dropping them two players and McDonald, which did really well at Derby versus a decent Derby side, if we're going to add. Why not give them a chance in league? Because we're not getting into playoffs. So
I just think that myself.
Just
now,
doesn't.
If I could just say, we're missing Walker as well.
Yeah, I think that's a given. To be honest with you, we've not won.
When he's playing, the front players have a little bit more confidence that the ball's going to come through. We're missing his supply. We're missing his runs. Little balls in. It's just not happening, is it?
I'll just
don't have a replacement for him.
I just want to because I've got to obviously look at both sides. Bantam Matt, he points out and says, "Drop our only goal scorer." A smiley face. A good percentage of goals have come from Cook this season, but at the same time, we've not seen. We need him, back scoring.
But we dropped our only goal scorer last year as well, and our only goal scorer at the moment ain't scoring any goals, is he? We've had Halliday that scored on Tuesday. It's not meant to be vindicative against Cook. It's meant to help him out because he did last season. I just don't think flogging him into the ground. And then you answer that question of if we flog him into the ground and play every week and he gets injured, we really are up shit's creek then, aren't we?
We've had a couple of Facebook comments. We've had Robbie. Cook is loving life. 3-year contract under his sleeve. He doesn't give a shit. Even if you drop him, he's still getting a paycheck. Simple as that. He knows what he's doing, treating the fans as mugs, even our manager. And then we've got, I think it's Louise. Agree, Cook needs dropping for a bit, but I wish he wouldn't play for penalties all the time. The ref won't give them.
It's an interesting view.
He does, actually. I'll give him that. So he does complain at the ref a hell of a lot if you watch his game. Does more moaning to the ref than he actually runs to ball. I noticed it on Tuesday.
He suffers a bit in the same way that Anson used to, doesn't he? As a target. And
He'd be a target, though, wouldn't he, if he scores 30-odd goals a season? Other teams are going to cotton on. Other teams are going to cotton on to it. It's down to Alexander to now, come up with some creativity.
Yeah, he's got to basically kind of look at ways where he can open up defences and bring Andy Cook in. That's his job at the end of the day, isn't it? To unlock a team and find a winning formula.
It might be a bit controversial here, but does anybody else think that when Cook isn't playing, the other players feel that they've got more freedom to actually shoot and take shots? Like I've noticed it a couple of times personally this season when one of the other maybe midfielders had taken a shot and it's gone sky wide, and then straight away Cook is stood there and verbally abusing this player.
He does that.
What confidence is that giving the other players to then actually take that chance on next time? Or is that why players then step back and think, I'm not confident enough to do this?
Did you ever see Bobby Campbell play?
Unfortunately, I was never...
all I'm saying is McCall, Mega...
What a player.
Ellis, what a player indeed. But if he didn't get that ball where he wanted it, those players knew about it. Mine, Singleton, John Hendry. John Hendry were terrified of him.
I'll tell you what as well, he knew how to win a penalty, did Bobby Campbell as well.
He certainly did. He bled every game because of that injury he had when he was younger with his shin.
I'll just make a point on what Jamie said there. I don't think other players do. Dwyer did it. Gilead nearly scored on. Well, he did really. Were his assist. I just don't think that there's any desire. There's no one apart from Gilead that does try and shoot. Because Smallwoods will end up probably in Foster Square car park. Dwyer just runs around at the ball and
gets in everybody's way.
Gets in it like Osadabi did. There's nobody there. Kyle Reid reminds me of the last player that would actually take a shot from wherever on pitch, regardless if it goes in or not. I can't remember a player that's done it since, and I just think it's going back down to poor recruitment. Not even poor, lazy recruitment. We go with what we know.
Well, the fact that we've already got too many players. There's just too many. There's too much deadwood.
We get rid of deadwood and then replace them with more deadwood. I don't think this right signing. I don't think this right signing is going to do any good. I think his confidence is shot at Plymouth. He didn't look fit on Tuesday.
And had to look good in that performance, though.
Well, it would, yeah. I'll give you on that. It just stinks of. It's really easy. We know it'll get fans back on side, and guess what?
Groups wouldn't be having meetings like this if
it just needs to be transparent, doesn't it? When we signed a player, the goalkeeper, for instance, I got no wrong with that. We've got to take a chance. We took a chance on Lewis, and it paid off. To be fair to Gent, I don't think Gent recruitment has actually been that bad. It's not been as bad as it was before. We've got Halliday, we've got Cook, right back. I said Halliday, Lewis. I don't think there's been some awfully bad signings in there. I don't think it's been terrible, but it's not been brilliant.
Who's injured at the moment as well, so
we've got to look on balance of that. Since the last Wyke, that's the only fee we've got for a player, for Lewis.
Do you think the right situation? Do you think it is a PR stunt, or do you think the time's right to bring him?
Bit of both. I think he's a good player.
I think Plymouth are looking to offload him because he won't fitting in there, giving him fingers salute, won't he? So
yeah, that's what we heard about. Apparently, Wright has not played in a while at Plymouth because apparently some fan said to him and then said something to him, and he flicked him V's. So that's why apparently he's not been playing at Plymouth. Fans don't like him.
I just think it's
Just a comment on the right signing, though. So, yeah, it might be a little bit of PR, etc. That's fine. But if he puts in performances like Pereira did when he came back for a second time, that PR will backfire massively.
Totally.
I don't even think it'll backfire massively. I think because everyone that says, it'll backfire, it wouldn't even shock me. It wouldn't. When the club come out with these idiotic statements in TNA, it just doesn't even surprise me. It's just...
We're finished with Sparks.
It's... I didn't get started on him, and I'm not going to say what I think I should say on here, but I think we're lazy from the top down. But if you look at the club, we're lazy on the pitch. Fans can't be asked going to games anymore. The CEO's just lazy and goes down the same easy, and Rupp just uninterested. We're just a lazy football club.
Like what Dan's saying there, it's like on social media, especially on Twitter, I follow quite a few other league teams just to be nosy, see what transfers. But the admins on like other groups, like for other teams, they're fantastic. They're doing stuff, and we aren't like you're saying, like Steve was saying. When was the last time did we have like a training, like match day thing or training video put out? They just don't seem to care anymore. And I 100% agree. I think it's laziness, and I think the club can't be asked, and the fans are now turning to say, "Oh, we can't be asked with this anymore." And they're voting in the numbers, i.e., like on Tuesday, where they just can't be asked to turn into games. We're 16th in league, I think. If I looked at table. And people are just fed up. Like I always say, it's Groundhog Day. We get a new manager. Yeah. We think we're going to smash the league. We think we're going to be League 2 massive, attendance FC United or whatever it is. Climb up that league, but we don't. We end up falling down the leagues.
Do you think then that there's, like with everybody saying, they're arguing on pitch and they're doing this, they're not putting these videos out because they might actually be fighting with each other in training. So I don't think what I mean? They're not going to film that, are they?
There's not that vibe around the club as there was last season.
Even among the fans, we've all got different opinions.
Do you know what we remind me of? One of my mates, a Yeovil fan, and it's an absolute copy and paste of how they drop from Championship, they drop from League 1, they drop from League 2, they drop from National League to National League South. The fans stop engaging, the fans stop coming. It all got nasty on social media. There were, people against people. It just screams that we're going to go down next year or year after or whenever, if we do go down. And once we do go down, you're going to drop 10,000 season tickets.
Do you think it's a sinking ship, Dan?
I think it's a sinking ship, but I think it can be put right back on course just with a little bit of communication. All the fans want is a bit of communication from the club. Look when they put that ground video on at Groundsman doing that. The feedback from that, were brilliant. That's all we asked for. We don't ask, we didn't ask under Mark Long to go up to Championship and Premier League. We just asked that you be real and stop lying, because that's what Sparks does. He's, these leaner and meaner and no room for mediocrity. It's just... It feels like he's trying to prove a point against the fans where he should be working with us, but he's just knuckleheading us. That's no way to run a club.
City fans, if they could see the effort in those players, if they could see that they did care, they'd get behind them.
We've always said that, Rolly. Yeah, we've always said that. I mean, every time basically somebody signs for our club, we say give 100% on the pitch, and we'll back you. You'll be adored, right? And that's I can't see that happening. I can't see it happening at the moment.
And that's the thing that's wrong, and that's what's putting a lot of people's backs up as well.
What I will say, just to touch on what Dan was saying, I will say this: it's the first time for a long time that I've seen our fans actually kind of united, really in a fairly common view. They sense that something's not quite right at the club, Everybody's talking about the communication, which, if we're being honest, has completely dropped off off the cliff. Even Halifax Town are putting out training videos and things like that. We're not getting anything except messages to sell us something or donate something. That's
Mushroom
it.
management went out years ago, but we seem to still operate it.
We're just
keep them in dark, and that's what they're doing with us.
We're just seen as cash cows. That's what it feels like. We don't feel like, every time it's to sell us a membership, sell us shirts, sell us a DVD, or sell us a season ticket, or whatever. It's that constant, we want you to put money in, but there's nothing coming back out.
Yeah.
We're not going up the league. We're not going, we're not going down, but we're not going up.
Do you know what it is, Dan? I think we've lost our backbone as a club.
I think we've lost her as identity. A football club is about fans. You got to have any fans, you don't have a football club. And we're losing that bond that we had last season, or the Parky era. That bond between the fans, it were glue. And now it just seems they just don't care. It's that regress.
Like many of you guys, I was at Wembley against Swansea and we're getting paggered, and it's just a sea of flags all around us and singing, even though we're 5-0 down. It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And that's right, that was the glue, because even though we got spanked, everybody was in it together. Everybody. Valley Parade rocked. And I just, at this moment in time, I worry about the future of the club right now.
There's a documentary out on Amazon. There's two. I think it's the 5-year plan. QP, I've got that on my YouTube channel if you want to watch that. But another one is the fall and rise of Pompey, our club. And I watched that the other week, and it's fantastic how the fans took over the club and made the club better. And I know with the fans forum on Monday, I think it is, in the Latvian club in Bradford. That day, that night, it could change Bradford City for the good.
We need to make sure as fan base we are heard and it's acted upon.
Well, I think the point on, investing into the club, I think, when it happened with Pompey, there wasn't such a difficult time with bills and cost of inflation. I think that's going to be an absolutely impossible job unless we get bought out by, unless he's going to sell it to us for £1 million. If he's going to be asking more than 6.5 million. I'm not going to say 10 because I don't know, but he's going to be asking more than 6.5 because that's what he's put in.
That's what he's quoted in it.
6.5 million makes sense. He bought us for 5.5, inflation, whatever, 6.5 million. No one, that's what nearly fucking £3,000 per fan. Ain't gonna happen. This whole owned by fans can only happen if we get into serious trouble and nearly go bust. I just think I went back and watched the Adams interview on us the other day, and every word that he says. A small club mentality in a massive ground and a massive fan base, and week upon week it just becomes more true. I think we need to lower our expectation while we've got Rupp in charge, because I don't think we're going anywhere. I think we're a small club run like a small club in a big ground. I just can't see progression.
Well, Dan, as you know, we're collaborating with the City Event to run this forum on Monday. One of the questions that we've got, which we want to try and get answered, is the club up for sale? And the reason we want to ask that is because at this moment in time, if Rupp wants to sell, then he has to come out and officially put it up for sale, because you're not going to get any buyers, or kind of garner people's attention if you don't officially put it up for sale. That's the first thing. If he's not putting up for sale because he's not in a rush to sell it, then what are you going to do then to basically kind of increase the value of the club? How are you going to invest? And what's the plan to basically get, first of all, League One football and then Championship football? What's that plan? Now, if you ask any fan on here right now, I can guarantee not one of us knows what that plan is. Not one of us. We have no idea.
Agree on that,
All
right?
we know is that we've got, as soon as night is, turns to day, we're going to get messaging very shortly about renewing and all these cliche videos and things like that, and renewing our season tickets because we've got to support the club. But the thing is, to get that support, you've got to give us something to basically go, right, that's what we're aiming for. It's really, if we are a selling club and we're a League Two club, let's not forget that, then fine. Put the structures in place, get basically putting in youth searches and go buy that talent with a view that you're going to sell it, right? You can still build a side where you're selling stuff and still kind of grow, and then you're not in a position where you do have to sell because you've got more money coming in. But the fact is right now is nobody knows what the future of the club's going to look like. Nobody knows what our ambition is. Some would argue on this space right now that we have no ambition. Some would argue that we have no plan. And actually, the reason why fans are in the position they are at the moment, and the voices are getting louder across our supporter base, is that they're not seeing that plan. There's nothing to hold on to as a supporter of this club, other than tradition, and that we've always gone there on a Saturday and a Tuesday, and we've followed them forever and a day. That's the problem that we've got right now.
Are you going to renew your season ticket, Steve?
I don't know right now, Johnny. To be honest with you, I'm the same. Take my hat off of what I'm doing with this. I'm the same as every other fan. On one hand, I'm going, I don't want to basically kind of cost the club stability, shall we say, financial stability, because I don't want to go into admin again, and I don't want all that crap. It was a nightmare. But on the other hand, side of things, I'm looking at, well, does Rupp and Sparks only understand the loss of money?
Because I'm going to renew because I know I'll probably get berated, but I like the club. I follow it home and away, and I enjoy going. As it looks at the minute from my point of view, it's a roller coaster at Bradford City, and we're at the bottom of this roller coaster, and we need to start moving up that roller coaster. I think we're just having a blip, and I know we're not Man United or Liverpool, but Man United, Liverpool, especially Liverpool, they sacked managers left, right, and centre a couple of years back. I know they had Kevin Dalglish, and then they had other managers, and eventually they changed, and they started climbing up again. I know they got Jurgen Klopp in, and they started winning games and stuff, and they ended up coming Premier League champions. But like on the other scale, Man United are doing what Liverpool are doing. They're down there. I just want to, if people can use the emojis at the bottom, thumbs up if you're going to renew, thumbs down if you're not going to renew, and I just get a general thing of if you're going to renew or not.
And none if you're not sure.
Yeah, none if you're not sure.
Can I make a point on your? Can I make a point on your comparison to Liverpool?
Yeah.
I'm gonna berate it, but we've already been there. We've already done that with Parky. We came off that Peter Taylor era in 2010 of the worst football that some have seen behind John Doherty. How many times of a club should we have to do that? Don't forget Liverpool have got, and Man United have got absolutely unlimited money, basically. You don't get that with, us. People compare us to Luton a lot, but Luton spent a hell of a lot of money getting back up them leagues, and they had a big board, they had a big recruitment team, they had a big fitness team. We don't have any of them. We've got to start from scratch. We've got to start from trainers, board staff. We need a communication with the club as fans. We don't have that to build because there's no. It comes back every time. It sounds cliche. It comes back to there's no frigging communication.
Yeah.
We can't. It was like when the two owners took over in 2017. As much as Rahik was an absolute raging lunatic on every proportionary scale, at least he actually spoke to the fans every week. At least he were there. He might have been an absolute raving moron, but you can't fault his communication. because he were there. He said what he said what were on his mind. He said that we want to go to the Premier League, regardless that's past now. But we need a Rahik, but not near the football team. If you get what I mean by that.
I think as well, Dan. And just to touch on your point, Johnny. Those transition periods you can see, but Bradford City are on the longest transition period that's ever happened in football. And the thing is with transition periods, we're in clubs that, they maybe do a couple of seasons, but in those couple of seasons, there's a plan that they're actually working to. And we did go through it, I think I can't remember, maybe Richmond days, where we said, right, we've got this plan, this is the plan what we're going to do, this is where we're going. But Bradford at the moment, Bradford City, they're not in transition. They're basically they've got a hole in the hull of the ship, and it's letting in water, and it's been letting in water for 5 to 6, maybe longer, 7 years. And until the club start to communicate and be honest about this is where we are, this is the money situation. We haven't, we've got a good budget, but ultimately there's lots of things that we need to do with it. I think if they said to fans, look, we might basically have to transition for a couple of seasons, and we'll do our best. We'll still try to get playoffs or whatever, and be ambitious. But the long-term project is that we're going to basically look to put a youth structure in. We're going to look to improve our facilities. We're going to look at options how we can buy the ground and things like that. Then I think fans of our club would go, okay, fair enough. And then if you brought in quarterly forums, they can then basically say, well, these are the key points from that plan. This is where we are. This is the progress we're making. I think most fans of our club would go, fair enough. I think that's fine. There's a plan there. We can see progress on it, and then we can get back to doing what we do best and roaring the boys on. Because I don't think any one of us wants to be in a situation like this where we're second guessing a club, and in this case, an individual or two individuals of our club, in terms of what the future of our club's going to be, because they just won't talk to us.
Yeah, because if we're needing change and stuff like that, everyone needs to work together. It's I know there's issues with the official supporters board at the minute. Asking questions and stuff like that, and seem to be getting they're asking easy questions, so the club are like, oh yeah, whatever. So if we all work together, we can make change happen.
Can we have one of them?
Exactly right. Can I just say thank you? I've got to get off because I've got a show to get ready for now. So take care, everyone, and stay strong.
Thanks, Lee.
No, you're welcome.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. On your point, you bang on. You're absolutely spot on. You look at when we get 3 or 4 results together. Fans get excited because we get excited at the smallest of things because it's quite a depressing thing. Look, following Bradford, there's no to look forward to. It's shit week in, week out. When we get them 4 results, people say, oh, well, the noise and stuff goes away. Well, of course it will. That's human nature. That happens at every football club. But, you look in previous seasons, we'd get a line of results. We got Hughes, and then it went away for about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Bad few results, it starts creeping back in. I think at the moment we could win 10 games on the bounce, and I still think the negative energy could be there. I still don't think you're going to get rid of it. I think the fan base has got past that line of just fed up and pissed off that there needs to be drastic change. And I'm not talking about a few articles on TNA, bigging up your CEO stance, bigging up your CV.
Well, Dan, can I just read what somebody's put here? I'm just trying to find the comment now because it's actually relevant to what you've just said. So it's Stephen Robinson. Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate you commenting. There's a deeper rooted problems than players at our club. Danny Cowley didn't want the job. Carl Robinson declined an interview. Both joined clubs below us in League Two. There's something wrong with our club. Football is a village. People talk. What do they know that we don't? And I think that's a bang on the money, to be fair.
Spot on.
we've sacked 13 managers. No, not 13. We've had 13. We've sacked 7 permanent managers in 7 years. That's what the problem is. Because if you're going to go to Bradford, no matter what you do, like why would Cowies tarnish the brand of Cowie Brothers? They wouldn't. Why would you come here? Adams were out of work. Alexander were out of work. Hughes were out of work. All these have got naught to lose. If they get sacked, they can do it trying. But, we're not going to get managers, like Cowies, whatever, Robinson, that are stable. They know they can go to another club, which gets more backing, which gets more, you can go to Barrow, and they have more money than us. Barrow have more money than us. That's no disrespect on Barrow, but in terms of money put in from the board, you take away 5,000 season tickets, you're going to lose 600 grand. Then you've got the ground rent, another 500 grand, 400 grand. You've lost $1 million. You've lost $1 million before you've even put a foot on field.
Yeah.
So you can go to Barrow, which have this tiny little shit ground. But guess what? They don't pay 500 grand for their ground, so they've got that to spend on players. That's the problem of us. We've got too much outgoings and not enough incomings. These cheap season tickets, they're an absolute wonder. But, when Barrow charge 400-500 quid a season ticket, they could have a third of the amount of fans, but they're still going to make exactly what we make. That's the problem we're getting.
With, the, what do you call it? I can't think of the theme park. So the guy who owned the ground, he's got that theme park, and what's the theme park?
Gordon Gibb, Flamingo Land.
Yeah, so Flamingo Land, we've got that out where advertisement plastered on side of our badges on the sleeve. Do you think the communication is with him to try to lower the rent, or to help us out? Do you think the communication's there even to put a bit of more money in? Do you think they try to fix the broken bridge?
He can't lower it. He couldn't lower it because it's pension fund. It pays his pension fund every year. So if he lowers it more than 500 grand, it's his pension fund. He ain't going to do that because he knows there's a catch-22, because he'll either say, well, if you don't like it, move out. So, we did that devil deal, when were it, 2002? Did we sign that deal?
Yeah, I think it's coming up for 2028 for renewal.
So, the deal with the devil, we did that to get ourselves out of the shit, but problem is, Rupp ain't going to buy it back, because it's going to cost, about $5.5 million to pay out the pension fund or something like that. We're stuck in that catch-22 where we've got 500 grand, or whatever the amount is, going out at a playing budget before you've even kicked a ball, before you've signed a player. And then sacking Hughes, sacking Adams, Grayson, Boyer, and a lot of them, how much are we paying every time? We'll have paid $250,000 to sack Hughes, and that won't come out of this year's playing budget, it'll come out of next year's. And when we sack Adams Alexander, in 6 months, that'll come out of the playing budget. We're in this vicious circle of, we have no money, we know that, but the money we do have, we piss up the wall every season. It's just, I just think we're a rotten club from top down. I just don't, without Rupp going, I really don't see a way that we're going to change.
Well, like I said, Dan, the first point he's got to do is he's got to officially put it up for sale.
And we don't know that.
I've got one question for Dan. So Crawley, they got took over by the thingy people.
The Wagme people.
Yeah. What would you say now? You wish they're in charge? Do you wish? I know people take the piss out of them. Do you wish they're in charge of our club?
No. Do I fuck? Do I hell? Because that's a fairy tale story which will go horribly, horribly wrong in the years to come when they get bored of the little endeavour. Admittedly, they're doing better than us at the moment, but I'd rather have a financial stable of nothing than them lot investing stupid amounts of money into players, because even I, to a limit, wouldn't want them in the club, because some of the signings that they've made for money, No, not that's not for me. Even on a level, not for me. That one.
Fair dues.
Okay, guys. We've been going an hour and a half. I think it's been a really good space, actually. We've covered quite a lot. Is there any more questions from anybody? Does anybody want to talk about the forum on Monday night? Anybody got anything else to add about the recruitment? And we'll do probably another 5 minutes, and then we'll let you get back to your evenings because it's knocking on 8:30 now for everybody.
Is that forum getting broadcasted on Monday?
Okay, Dan. So the Vent boys put this together very, very quickly, as you're probably aware, and we don't. We're going to look to live stream it somehow, but we don't have fantastic equipment for it. So we are going to try and find a way to live stream it. We just don't think the quality is going to be magnificent, but we're going to do our best. What we are going to do is we're going to produce detailed notes afterwards, which I'll publish on the Bradford City Independent website. And I think I'll have to confirm this with the Vent guys, but we'll publish it there as well. So it'll be completely transparent, etc. Unless we're talking about potential protests or things like that, which will be kept within that forum for that night.
I'll just make a quick point. If you do need an undoing that, message me on Twitter because I know a little bit about that. So if you need a hand, need any equipment, just give me a message.
Cool. Dan, what I'd say, mate, if you could and you'd be kind enough, would you get in touch with Adam Williams and just have a chat with him? Because he's handling that side for us at the moment. But I'm sure that he'd be indebted if you could provide any help.
His DMs are closed. I can't message him on Twitter. So if you could just ask him to message me if he needs any assistance, and I can help him out on that.
Yeah, leave that with me. I'll sort that out.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers, mate.
Jamie.
Yeah, just a quick thing with this thing that's happening on Monday night. Obviously,
the fans forum.
With the fans forum, obviously, we have a lot of fans that are not on social media. Are we actually contacting like BBC Radio Leeds to actually promote the event, or is it going to be a down key event?
That's a good question. We have made contact with media outlets. I'm not going to say who they are at the moment because some outlets have a relationship with the club, and we have to step carefully with respect because we don't obviously want to lose potential platforms that could help our supporters get their voice across. So I can't reveal too much about that, and forgive me, guys, I would, but I daren't. But I can confirm we are talking to media outlets at the moment about what we're trying to do. But with respect to media, they want to have something juicy at the moment to work with. Right now, this forum on Monday is about, instead of moaning on social media and us running these spaces, which we're quite happy to do, and because it's great to hear people's points of view, but we have to start to fundamentally look at us as supporters, regardless of views, looking at what kind of action that we can take and how we get our voice heard. Because right now, I can confirm we've written to the club on numerous occasions. We've invited them socially, so their social team have seen that we've invited, and they haven't responded to us in any way whatsoever. Part of it is because we're not officially recognised as an official supporters representative, which is why we're trying to get our membership up at the moment. But obviously, Sparks is only giving interviews at the moment to sources that he's comfortable with, shall we say. Yeah. I know that Jamie Rayner is hoping to get an interview with him in the new year. Just after the transfer window. So we'll probably hear something on Radio Leeds from him. What will be said there, I don't know. I don't know whether Rayner will challenge him, as I think he needs to be challenged. But saying that, Jamie does have a bit of a backbone about him and a bit between his teeth. Yes, we are in short answer. We are in touch with media. We are talking to them, but I've got to get a little bit more momentum and a little bit more unity around the plan first of all. And, we are contemplating protests of some type. We are looking at kind of ways to disrupt, but ways that are not going to cause problems to the club in terms of being penalised, etc., or fined or things like that. It's more other tactics that we have. So, and I'll explain more about those on Monday at the forum.
Perfect, thanks.
Any other questions? Anybody else wants to just quickly speak before we wrap up for tonight? Or you can DM me. I'm at Bantam1873. You can DM me privately if you want to put a question to me. I'll as most people who've engaged with me, I'm very honest and very transparent. I've got nothing to hide, but I am a supporter like you guys, a long time supporter, and I think it's just a case of we have to basically kind of look now because supporters are uneasy right now across the board.
I just want to say thanks for. And thank you for everybody coming. This will be going out as a podcast on podcast services and on YouTube and other social sites as well.
I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Thanks to all our speakers. Thanks to everybody who's made comments. And thanks to you for just taking some time out your evening. I know you're all busy and you've got your lives and things like that, but I can't stress enough right now. If we don't unite as a fan base and try to get the club to basically listen and react to what we're doing and give us a plan to go forward with, then we're always going to get what we're getting right now. There's we need change, I believe. We need to put a plan what that is. If Rupp does go or decides to pull his investment, what do we do? Those are fair questions to ask. It can't just be let's get Rupp out of the club. I believe he does need to go. That's my own personal opinion. I think that we're driftwood at the moment, but we have to have a plan behind it. Otherwise, the future of the club is at risk. I'm sorry if that sounds dramatic, but I believe that's where we are right now as a club. I think that there is some serious issues, and it's very telling when a club goes insular and doesn't basically then start to respond to its customer base. Please, if you can attend on Monday, please come along. All's welcome. If you're up in, it doesn't matter. Everybody, we want to come along and just help us put together a plan that gets our club back on track and gets the ambition back, and then gets us as supporters back to doing what we want to do. Go on a Saturday and Tuesday, have a laugh with our mates, Raw City on, hopefully get 3 points and go home. That's it. That's it, guys. Thanks for coming along. We'll wrap up here. Enjoy your rest of your evenings, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you on Monday at the forum. Thank you, Johnny, for coming on as well. It's been a pleasure, mate. Appreciate it. All the best, guys.
Right, everybody, I'm going to say Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, thank you for joining. I will be doing a podcast tomorrow for the Swindon game at 7 o'clock on same channels, Twitter and here.
Gregory will look to pick it up and he'll go on here.